This is an iconic photograph taken by Nazi officials during the time of the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto in April and May of 1943. Initially, when the first wave of deportations took inhabitants of the Warsaw Ghetto to the killing center at Treblinka, about 19 miles north of the city of Warsaw, the leaders of the Warsaw Ghetto began to understand what Nazi resettlement policy was really all about, that eventually the ghetto would be liquidated and everyone sent to their deaths. And at this point, resistance figures within the Warsaw Ghetto, young fighters, many of them under the organization, the Jewish Fighting Organization, or the ZOB, as it was called, come together and they resolve that they're going to have a revolt should the liquidation of the ghetto take place. And this, in essence, begins on the first evening of Passover in April 1943. Against these very ill-equipped and poorly trained Jewish fighters are about 2,000 German soldiers and police under the organization of Joachim Stroop, or Stroop, as he's called, and he has orders to liquidate the Warsaw Ghetto. Arranged against him are about 700 young fighters, men and women, inside the ghetto. They do have some advantages. They understand that their cause is hopeless, they're outmanned, the Germans have tanks, the Germans have artillery, but they do have some advantages. First, the idea that they're able to essentially wage a guerrilla warfare. And two, the support of the general population, whom they've encouraged in the intervening time to dig underground bunkers called malines, hiding places. And they encourage the inhabitants of the Warsaw Ghetto to get in these underground bunkers and essentially not to show up for the deportation orders at the Umschlagplatz, from which the Germans typically deported Jews from Warsaw. And it obliges the Germans, really, to burn down the ghetto block by block and to fight house to house. The revolt lasts almost a month. In the first week of May 1943, the Germans reached the headquarters of the ZOB in 18 Mila Street. And we think that the main leaders of the ZOB committed suicide rather than be captured. In the 15th of May, Stroop is able to report back in his daily reports to Berlin. Famously, he says, the Jewish quarter in Warsaw is no more. And the remaining 50,000 inhabitants of the Warsaw Ghetto are sent to their deaths at Treblinka. The photo shows captured resistance fighters being marched through the streets of Warsaw in May of 1943. And these photos were part of a report, the Stroop report, that the leader of the German forces puts together to send to Berlin to report his victory. I chose this photograph because it's an iconic photograph, but also because the Warsaw Ghetto Rising is so important. It's the first major urban uprising among the occupants of German-occupied Europe, and it presages the Warsaw Uprising of 1944 by the Polish Home Army. And it's an incredible moral victory for those individuals who were not going to go down without a fight.